All right.
Okay.
Okay. So
I'll start, I
Yeah.
guess. I'm the vice president of students,
Mm-hmm.
Pat O'Neill, and because of the incident that happened in the dorm or private party,
Right.
and since I know you're a responsible and distinguished student, distinguished alum, I'm sure you want to find a solution to this and make sure it never happens again,
Right.
and maybe find an appropriate punishment for the students.
Exactly. I'm very sure that what I want is this issue. What we both want is this issue not going to happen
Right.
again,
Exactly.
and the safety and how
Of the
we
students.
addressed to this incident, and we can. And I know the board saying that they want to ban the alcohol completely from the campus.
Right.
I personally, both myself think it's ridiculous, and I think the student also thinks so.
Okay. So what if let me just tell you what the board wants, because
Yep.
so I can give you the points. The board is concerned about the college's reputation, of course. We don't want such an incident happening here again.
Right.
A major brawl, students getting hurt, getting hurt. And so the board wants to probably adjust the party policy a little bit
Yes.
and make some mechanism, like implement some mechanisms so that it never happens again.
Right.
So what the board wants, the board wants to. Okay, you heard that a completely dry campus. That's what the board.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the things the board wants.
Yes.
So there's no alcohol permitted anywhere on campus. A dry campus maybe for students only. So
What do you
faculty,
mean?
staff members could drink at events or social events or whatever.
Okay. I think
And
that would be
an
too
elimination
over.
of private parties.
Okay.
Of course, yeah, but we have to find a common ground here.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Or keep the party policy but amend it a little bit.
What is some amendment that you suggest?
So a lot of the trouble happened because there were so many different people, like so many people in the room.
Yes.
And as you know, private parties can host 30 people.
Right.
And the board wants to change it to 10 people instead of 30
10 people? That's... Alright, I can tell you that this is not gonna happen because we all know like what should be called a party would be like people
Okay.
gathering together, drinking, playing games. And what some of our students think regarding to the number of attendees for a party, we think the 30 people policy is too low.
You want to increase the number of...
Exactly.
But actually we're here to discuss the problem of fights starting there. And
Well,
those rooms are really crowded. And
there
if
has
there-
been I understand that, but there has been years students complaining about like this 30 people limited, the limits that they set up.
Right.
No one hear about their, no one actually pay attention to this request, and so that this policy has been there years and never changed.
Right.
Yes,
Um,
but I
but
feel
we cannot
like,
increase the number of people here.
Okay.
We cannot do this.
yeah, I think the most important thing that we concern is like to ban the alcohol from campus or not. And what I think we shouldn't ban it, because let's analyze this accident a little bit. This accident, from what we both know from the police report saying they arrived at 1:50, and there were non-students people there
Right.
involved in this fight,
Right.
and they brought additional alcohol.
Right.
Right. And what I want to ask first is, who is that? Who's the responsibilities? Who's
Who
responsibility?
is responsible for the fight?
For allowing non-students people be on campus at this late time of the night.
Oh, there is not a policy that non-students are not allowed on campus.
Right. But this fight is not caused between a student. It's between students. They are caused by the 3 non-students male.
Let's see.
And I have some
agree.
information here. According to the party's attendees and the party's host, those non-students male arrived at 12:45,
Right.
and they bought 3 cases of beers with them. And one of them got into a fight with the fraternity brother.
We can work with this. So I totally agree.
Mm-hmm.
So what I would suggest is, if somebody wants to bring a non student on campus,
Right.
you would have to sign him or her in with security,
I like that
with
idea.
campus police,
Yeah.
and they're not allowed to bring alcohol on campus.
Right. How about, I like the idea about to sign in a non-students
Right.
persons to a party on campus. And also I want to make sure that the non-students people who comes to the party doesn't bring any alcohol with them.
I'm totally on the same page with you.
Yep.
So I think we can agree on this.
Yep.
And I would also say the students who bring the non-resident students,
Yep.
they are responsible for the behavior of the non-students,
Exactly.
of the non-resident or non-students, of course.
Yep.
This brings me to the next issue actually, because it was a frat party.
Yes.
We know that,
Mm-hmm.
and as you might agree, probably frat and fraternities are more or less an excuse for partying, probably for excessive partying. So what the board also wants or suggests is banning all the fraternities and sororities on campus. I know this is a ridiculous request.
Yes, that's ridiculous.
So what I would say is the fraternities and sororities are not allowed to have parties on campus anymore.
Not allowed to have parties on campus.
They would have to go off campus to make a party.
Think about that. I first think this is impossible. Number
I think
one,
it's very possible.
if they cannot host party on campus, where would they go?
They would have to rent a house somewhere, like
Yeah, they would go on
like frat
campus.
parties would do it regularly.
Or maybe do like with some friends or outside the campus anyway. And that would put a risk of like safety issue. You know, it would be harder to guarantee the safety of our students. If anything happened to their during the party when they're off campus, we also get into trouble. It's not like if our students are in danger in some way,
Right.
we also get into trouble. I don't think this is a good idea.
But do you agree there should be something should be done about frat parties and sorority parties? Because the thing is getting completely out of control here. If you let frat boys and sorority girls continue to have these kind of parties on campus.
I think this
So
is a very.
because
I
you said before,
agree.
you don't want to happen again,
Right,
and we have to find like a solution that it
right.
doesn't.
I agree that saying we should hold up the standards for how to host a party on campus, but I don't think. In a way, I think like the more restriction we put on the policy, the more opposing voice will we hear from the student.
Right. Of
Yeah.
course, we wanted to keep the students happy as well.
Yes.
But we will have to introduce some guidelines to make sure it doesn't happen again. And I think something has to be done about the sororities and about the frat boys. So
So
it's
we
good to
said
have.
that already. We impose a sign-in policy.
Hey, what?
and
Sorry.
Sign-in.
Signing policy. Of course, it's just
So every guest who is going to attend to a frat or
Right.
fraternity party on campus have to be recorded
right.
down their name.
Of course.
Yeah.
But the issue isn't just non-students. It's also the students who live on campus make trouble. So, for example, the campus police has reported 502 incidents that involved vandalism or fighting at the Warren College campus during the last academic year.
Is it only for the frat and sorority
No, for
party
all
or
students. For all students. And 75% of these incidents involved alcohol. So something has to be done about the alcohol rules.
Exactly, because what I hear about the feedback from the student is they think the one keg
Yeah.
of beers is too little.
But this is ridiculous. The keg is all the. It's
They have
exactly
their
what
reason.
started.
They
what
have
started
their
the
reason.
ball.
Because like one keg, if for a 30 students party, one keg of beer means each student will have 2 or 3 glasses of beer.
Right.
And we all know like how strong the beer is. So some students would think they should drink faster, in order to get
But
like
this is
the
ridiculous.
most share of beer that
But
they can get.
this is an irresponsible behavior. Just to say that.
And why
So-
don't you, if you hold the student responsible for everything that happens during their
Of
party,
course.
why don't you let them to decide how much beer that they can drink?
That's why we're here now.
Yeah, exactly.
So we shouldn't
Let
let them
them to
decide.
decide.
No, we cannot do this because if you let the people decide how much they want to drink, they would just overdrink and would just cause even more problems.
But at the same time, we also let them know that if you cause problem,
Right.
you will have to face this serious consequences.
But you agree, alcohol makes people go crazy, makes
yep.
people party excessively,
Right.
which leads to brawls and fights. You agree, right?
That's possible.
That's possible and
Yes.
plausible,
And that's also possible
and there's
for
a
a
distinct
sober
connection,
people
exactly.
to
Especially if you
into a
see
fight.
that 75% of these 502 incidents involve alcohol. So we would have to do something about it. So my primary concern is to limit the amount of alcohol circulating on campus. And one way to do it is to prohibit any beer kegs on campus. Prohibit. No, just allow beer in cans, but no kegs.
So how many cans of beer that you will allow for a party? And will you set the limit?
Yeah, I would set the limit. I would say 2 to 3 cans of beer per person.
2 to 3 cans of beer.
Yeah.
How do you control it?
Like how is it usually controlled? RAs checking the rooms.
I mean, it's easy to.
If somebody is caught with more than the allowed amount of beer,
Yeah.
he will get into trouble. He will be fined. He will be punished.
Okay, you see here, I don't think that's a bad idea, but I only think it's hard to control, because here, with our current policy, only 1 keg of beer is allowed, which means we don't allow any other forms of container that would be alcohol on campus. So it's easier for the RA to check that way. If they search in the room and
I have
find
to disagree, but it prevents people from over drinking, because it's
Right.
like a beer keg.
But what if they hide their cans?
What if they hide the beer kegs? We can see this from both sides. Of course they can hide it,
Yeah.
but that's no excuse for not introducing any guidelines.
I know, I understand that, but I just wonder how feasible that guideline is.
It always depends on how you control it, how you check it, and how you implement it. And if you make sure to people they're not allowed to have more than the allowed amount of beer in the rooms. If you regularly check in with parties, send an RA there or whatever, send the security there to check it.
Yep.
If underage people, like underage students, are caught with beer on campus, they will have to be punished too.
Exactly.
So I would like to eliminate the beer kegs.
You would like to eliminate the beer
Yeah.
kegs?
So let students only have cans of beer.
Then we should decide how many cans.
Cans of beer you can have. Right. So
And you don't allow a glass bottle beer.
no, because
dangerous.
it's dangerous, and
Yeah.
one of the students got hurt because of the glass.
Yep.
Of a glass bottle. So what I would say is we start off here. Well, the whole problem starts off at the private parties anyway. So the current policy is right now that only people over 21 are allowed in private parties, of course. They have to end at 1 a.m.
Yes.
because those are quiet hours, and they can only host 30 people.
Right.
30 students, right?
Yes.
So first of all, we would have to decide what is actually a good number
Of
of
students?
guests to be in a private room.
I guess you mean the on-campus student?
No, sorry,
or-
just students.
Oh,
how many
just
students
how
would
many
be allowed
students,
in
I would
into a
think
private party.
30 per people. We would say, I'm more concerned is like what is the location for those
Right.
private parties.
Right.
If the location is big, it's like a conference room,
Right.
or,
You see-
or like a student lounge.
Right.
It definitely can fit more people. But if inside an apartment of a student or a room of a student,
Right.
like 30 people would be crazy.
Right. So, you agree that the number is too large?
No,
Did you just say so?
I said it depends on the location.
Okay. We can work on this because
Even though I don't have anything here saying anything about the party location restriction,
Right.
but I think we can negotiate on that part.
right.
Yeah.
So right. So the board asked me to ask for dry campus. We both noticed probably that's
Yeah.
not going to happen. It's not
No.
won't be possible.
Yeah.
Because students will revolt. So
Mm-hmm.
I have to give the board something. That I have to do something about
I
these
understand.
party
Yep.
policies. So I would suggest reducing the number of guests to, let's say, to half, 15, and start the quiet hours should start at 12 o'clock. And those are just for private parties in a dorm room, but we can also maybe find a room, like a designated partying room.
Yes.
That's what I would think.
Mm-hmm.
Like give people a designated partying room. Have the security out there who checks the ID to let the people into this partying room,
Yes.
and to find a place for holding bigger parties on campus.
If it's a bigger party,
Yeah.
would you assume that the limit of alcohol will increase?
No, it will be limited because there will be let's say a security guard or whatever who checks the people for the alcohol, and who also checks the ID of these people. Because if it's like a designated partying room with, let's say, way more than 30 people, of course,
Mm-hmm.
it's getting hard to control who's over 21 and who's under 21.
Yeah, I like that designated party room idea.
Right.
We can talk about that later, but regarding to the private party policy, I think that would be too much limits we'll put on it, right, from your suggestion. You say, earlier, you suggest a earlier quiet hour time.
Right.
And I think if it's I don't think that 12 o'clock quiet hour will be a good idea for Friday night or
But then,
weekend nights.
Right. But then people can always go to the party room, which we can set up if they want to party longer.
What if they don't have that many attendees?
Attendees.
Are you gonna rent out the room, or
Oh, we can find a room on campus, or not a room, like a lounge or whatever,
yeah?
like a common area, common room, which is turned into a room for parties.
How about not changing the time, but will allow party to last longer if they host it in the designated party area?
Yeah, we can talk about the designated party area. We can make it less longer there, but you have to give me something for the time here because the board is really concerned about the students' safety and security.
Mm-hmm. I understand.
And I think 1 a.m. quiet hours is a really late time. So what do you think about 12:30 then?
12:30.
Because I have to give the board something here.
Oh, we can write down, but just like, because I have students that with like that send me their concern saying that the 1 o'clock is even too early.
I know students feel like this, of course. When you start partying, anytime is too early, usually for you.
Yeah,
But-
and usually parties start at 11, and you tell
Right.
them that you can only host the party for 1
Right,
hour.
But let's not forget it's a college. It's not a party place.
I
It's
understand.
designated for.
Yeah, but in some way, the college also want to set up a culture that is it's appealing to the incoming
Right.
student. You're saying we are
But-
liberal. It's not like we are a religious school, no alcohol. It's about
Right. But we believe our party policy has always been really liberal. You know what I mean? And with people partying more and more, and
okay.
it's about time maybe to make it a little stricter. just to ensure the safety of the students.
Yeah, I have a feeling like how to ensure this case is not going to happen again.
Right.
It's how we can optimize
Right.
the policy.
Right.
And I think banning or restricting doesn't lead to that direction.
How else would you do it?
I will set up a separate route.
We
I
can-
will like the designated
Right.
party area. I think
Right,
that's
but
a good
it-
idea.
It is a good idea, but it doesn't. It's not a promise for people not having private parties, for not having excessive private parties anymore.
If people can get a room
Right.
that allows more people to come to their party, that will allows the party to last longer, I think they will be happy to use that resource.
Right, and we can also enforce them, like give them an incentive to go to the bigger room by
Yes.
restricting the number of the private, like the number of students who can go to a private party, as well as the partying hour. Because if you give them less time to have private parties for, and if you reduce the numbers of the
To
students
encourage students to use that
the-
resource. But the one thing
Right.
I would concern is how many of those rooms that we can provide to a student. We all know if it's a private party, it's the convenience for the student. If they cannot get a bigger room, they can host it in their own apartment.
But that's what we want to prevent from happening.
I mean,
The
the
whole thing
reason why
started
they
in a
like
private
a
party.
private party is because maybe they cannot find a group, like a legitimate party space elsewhere. That's why they
The
host
reason they
it.
want to have private parties, let's be honest, is to drink a lot and maybe to give alcohol to underage students.
Well,
I think we can agree on. I think that's kind of obvious why people hold private parties.
mhm.
So we have to we have to find a way to control it a little. So my suggestion is starting quiet hours at 12:30 and reducing the number of guests from 30 to 15 for private parties. Because 30 people in a room is really crowded, really packed. It's it's also an issue of safety to students.
Right. I feel like, but also, whose responsibility is
I know,
To-
of course, people are responsible for it, but there are also these mechanisms on college.
I
that
feel like
let
the way
them
we can approach it is like we find whose responsibility is, and then to target to
back
that
to that.
responsible people. Yeah.
Then we
Besides,
have-
like
right.
we talk like everywhere, like we don't know where to get to.
Right. I feel like we should talk about the frats and sororities again then.
So
because
the students.
Yeah, it's where the whole trouble started. It's with the fraternities and sororities. So
How about also the regulator, but like the rule holder, like the police,
what do you mean?
like because that is also the campus police
Right.
responsibility to keep the non-student from
Of course, yeah.
cracking
Yeah.
the party.
So we have we kind of solved this issue already, right? So we said no non-students can non-students have to be signed in.
How
when they go to
many
campus.
of the non-students? can
Let's
be
say
there?
every student can bring one non-student.
So if you say 30 people party, we can bring another 30 people
No, 30 people in total,
in total.
of course. So
Is it 30 people max at one time, or 30 people registered?
yeah,
So let's say at the beginning of the party, only 10 people shows up,
right.
and at one point, there will be more than that. But the other 20 that who signed up for the party didn't come at this time.
There's-
Can the people that is not on the guest list come to the party at that time when there's no 30 people?
The whole
in the
issue is
room?
that only 30 people can be in the room.
Mhm.
So it doesn't matter if they are signed in and didn't come or not. So it's just an issue of quantity of people.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
So it's not saying that they have to provide us the guest list in front
No.
of
And back to the fraternities and sororities, the board wants me to negotiate like a whole, like banning the whole fraternities and sororities. I also know that's not possible.
That's not possible.
So, but we have to find a solution there as well. So my solution is that sororities cannot hold parties on campus anymore than fraternities.
I don't think that's a good idea. No, I really don't think. What's the point for having a fraternity and sorority? Like one of the big things
Networking.
is partying.
Oh, so you agree now that there's an excuse for partying?
No, it's not accused for partying. It's like one of the points of having this student organization is for them to have fun.
See, to party, but we don't want these parties to get out of hand. That's where the whole
You
trouble
just
started.
don't want this party to become a dangerous one or get into an accident. That's
Right.
the point. But you are not come here to talking about banning the whole party.
No.
Like,
We're not banning
It's
any
like you're
parties.
driving in the road and you might get into a car accident,
Right.
so that you just stop driving.
Right, but I'm not suggesting banning the parties on campus. I'm just suggesting banning the fraternity parties and sorority parties on campus.
But not all of this, the fraternity
Yeah,
and
right.
sorority party are dangerous. Or
No, but we have to find guidelines because I cannot say none of the parties are dangerous, but it's still no excuse for not doing something about it.
But you already hold the party's host responsibility for everything that happens to the
Of
party.
course, yeah.
So that's how you make the student, like
But
how
like-
you tie the student with
right,
the
but
party safety.
The thing with sorority and frat parties is there's such a dynamic going on. It's like such a, it's not just an individual. It's like a whole fraternity and stuff. They have like a sense of holding, keeping together, and in order to prevent these whole parties getting out of hand is to ban the parties on campus, and they would just have to rent a house outside of campus because we don't want to travel here on campus.
So from what you're saying, it's like only the fraternity and sorority students
No, they're part of the
their
problem.
parties
Yes.
are more dangerous than the regular student that hosts a party.
Right.
How come? Why?
Because you said before sororities and fraternities are here for making
No,
parties.
I mean like maybe there are some professional fraternity and sorority,
Right.
but also most of them are just
Right.
bonding a group of students with common
Right,
interests,
and that's a
and
good
they have
thing.
fun
And
together.
that's a good thing. And they
Exactly.
should keep doing this on campus. But they should keep the partying life out of campus because that's not what sororities are supposed to do.
Well, I don't think that's a good idea.
I would suggest that because originally the board wants me to ban the sororities. I know that's
because
not
there
going to
is
happen.
no reason for them, like for us to not letting the student have party on campus.
Right.
Because this is the campus they stay in. They live here. They have the housing here. This is like their second home.
Of course.
And you're just saying that you cannot do some things at home. But that's not true.
But
we cannot
they-
ban it, but we can just impose policy to it. I think the policy that we talked before works.
Like,
Like to designate another area.
right, of course.
But
We can do
just-
this. But frat and sorority parties we have to deal with them separately than we deal with normal regular parties.
Why do you think it's
Because the whole
different?
dynamics just goes on in for frat parties and
do you have the data? You just say like 70% of the something.
Oh, no, it's just saying 75% of these incidents involves alcohol.
Yes.
but-
So it's only the alcohol problem. Every student who has the private party on campus will involve alcohol.
Right.
And
Of
they all
problems,
share
right.
the same kind of risk
Right.
of getting into
See,
trouble.
that's not completely true because fraternities and sororities they make parties to get really drunk. We both know that. They want to pick up girls. They want to fill them up. You know what I mean? Make them drunk, make them easy.
Mhm.
So and we don't want this on campus. It's dangerous to the students' health. It's dangerous to their it restricts their safety.
Right. But in other hand, we also need to be responsible for the students' safety.
Right.
So I believe it will be easier way to control
Right.
when we have the parties on campus compared if we let them to go
We
somewhere
can have
else
parties
to party.
on campus, but just not parties sponsored by frats and sororities.
I don't get that party who is sponsored by that part, I see there's no difference.
Oh, there
No
is.
matter who is the host of the party.
Right. There is a difference because the whole there's so many group dynamics going on with fraternities and sororities. They get together, plan a huge party, and these parties usually get out of hand.
And then I feel if we impose that policy, then we definitely discourage the entire dynamic of having a fraternity and sorority on our campus. And in another way, it would kind of give us a very negative or image. If students complain online and saying, oh, if the sorority student complaining online and saying the school banned us from having a party,
Yeah.
and it would be a very
No,
negative
students
impact.
are really flexible. They can find another place to party. They can find. They're all.
You just assume it, but you can also this policy. If you find it online, imagine yourself being a student seeing this. You will say, "Oh, wow, why is that happening? Is it this school means danger? The police not doing anything. The school is not doing anything.
Of
That's
course.
why they banned the party.
No,
or is
I
it being
think-
true?
No, if you think about it, if you read the school banned the parties, like the frat parties,
Yeah,
people will think, oh, they're really.
there must be a reason for doing
Yeah,
that.
they're concerned about the students' health, safety, and that's why they banned the fraternity parties and sorority parties.
But one thing it's you don't want this issue to become too big. This accident to become too big and to catch too much
Of course.
attention. And then if
course.
students see that and the potential students see that policy online,
It's
they will
not like-
probably go into, or maybe their parent will look into it and say, why did that? Is there
No,
something
no.
happened before that
Parents will
caused
be.
that?
No, you probably know that parents would be really happy about banning fraternities.
They
and
will
sorority
be, but
parties,
on the other side, it would be why did you do that?
because
It must be something wrong
because
happening
usually
in the
frat boys
past.
and sorority girls, they see the college life just for having frat parties and having an excuse for having excessive parties, instead of what they should really do, which is studying here. And we restrict that, and we try to control this by of course, we keep the sororities and fraternities on campus. It's not like we're banning the whole fraternities and sororities thing. We just not let them have parties on.
Is it a very extraordinary accident only?
No, it's
abnormal. It's not happening every time.
It has been getting out of hand. Just in the last year, there have been 502 incidents of vandalism and fighting at the Warren College campus. This now.
And is that all caused by sorority or fraternity party?
No, but
or
they're
is
a part of
just
the problem, and we have to look at.
They are part of the problem. Exactly.
See, and we have to
You
look
have
at
to
each
say-
part of the problem. And now we were looking at the private parties. We were looking at. Now we're looking at fraternities, and then we'll look at the amount of alcohol they can have, and we have to deal with every single issue. The whole thing will not be cannot be dealt with just by looking at this whole thing. There are so many different parts to this problem.
Right.
And
I think the one thing you cannot host one part of the problem, one part of people that are responsible for the problem. You cannot just target it down to that.
No,
little part
I'm
of
not.
the
But we have to look
people.
at each problem individually. I'm not targeting town fraternities and sororities.
Right.
It's also the problem is also.
But you
private
just said
parties
that
are
you
problem.
don't allow the fraternity and sorority party.
Yeah, just not their parties. Private parties are okay, and we can find a designated party room. But parties sponsored by fraternities and sororities should not be allowed on campus.
I don't.
It's usually on every other college. Usually the fraternities and sororities have a house outside of campus where they can.
But
party.
we don't provide those sorority and fraternity house on campus. You
No.
see what I'm saying?
Of course we don't, because
We don't.
and now it would be irresponsible to give them a party, to give them an opportunity to party on campus.
I feel everyone on the campus should share the same right.
Then
Although they belong to some
then they can go to
organizations.
regular parties. They can still attend regular parties then if they just want to party. But why would fraternities want to have their own parties? Because they want to have excessive parties. Because they want to have more alcohol. Because there's less.
If this policy imposed this 2 keg, 1 keg of beer, the beer limitation, the gas limitation
Right.
are imposed to every private party on campus, why would they want something else? Or you could say all the party hosts want to have something else. Not only them.
Because sororities and fraternities, they will find a way, or they will try to find a way around these rules, because the whole point of the parties is getting excessively drunk and partying excessively.
Yep.
So probably it won't just like it won't just help to limit their amount of alcohol they can have, because they will try to get more alcohol into their parties.
Everyone would think the same way, I believe.
Then we should ban all of the parties.
Then we should not. We should educate our students to become more educated and disciplined
Of course.
on this issue.
Of course, but first of all, you have to give them rules. You have to give them guidelines.
Exactly. So that's why I think banning the frat party on campus is not feasible.
I think it's a really good idea, and I will have to insist on this.
I don't think that's a good idea, actually. If we decided to have a designated party area.
But we cannot keep everything the same, because that's where people will still have will still have private parties, and will still have frat and sorority parties here.
Then we should increase the punishment in that case.
We will do this too. But
And then maybe like also
you have to give me
because
something.
this time I don't think our policy is too bad, or maybe there's too much loophole in the policy. But the point is, right now I think there's not enough enforcement for our rule.
Of
Like
course, but
the
before we
party
talk
was
about the
over
enforcement,
30 people.
I agree, but
So
see,
who keep track of the 30 people
right?
limits?
But let's not talk about this now. Before we can talk about issues of controlling, we would have to talk about guidelines first. And these guidelines are not strict enough.
I think this kind of is fine. If there's no talk about this incident. If there's no outside people coming to this party, I don't think this accident will happen.
Right.
If this party ends by 1 o'clock, I don't think this accident will happen. Right? If the alcohol limit, if the alcohol amount is contained into one beer keg, I don't think this will probably happen.
Right, but listen to me. I have to go back with something to the board. I have to do something about this policy. They have to be amended at least a little, and you're not giving me anything right now. So
I think what the board suggests is what they suggest, but we can come up with better solution.
Of course,
Getting to
that's
yes.
That's why I brought up.
Don't limit it. Yeah.
That's why I brought up the designated party room. But if I give the students a party room where they can party longer, where they can have more people, then I will have to limit the amount of the quantity
there
of
would be
guests
a
for private
natural
parties.
incentive built into this
cannot-
idea. Think about that. If you are a student, you have two options. You can either host it in your own room, or you can host it somewhere else. But somewhere else, you can allow more beer.
Right.
More people,
Right.
longer time. Why not just go to something?
Right,
someplace
and a way
else?
of encouraging them is limiting the number of guests they can have in their private parties.
There's already a
and
built-in
reducing-
incentive. That's what I'm saying. Like,
Yeah, but maybe it's not good enough. We have to make sure of this.
you said maybe we can just try to do it first. I'm not saying I'm not getting anything from what the student increase.
Think about it, a small dorm room with 30 people. That's way too much. Usually it's 15
It's a
people in
private
a dorm
apartment.
room.
That was a saying.
Yeah, and 15 people should be enough to everything above 15.
But
or 20.
what about we just itemize the policy by a different situation? For example, if the party is registered in a dorm room, we limit it to 20 people, for example.
Private parties.
Private parties. If it's happening in an apartment, maybe we can allow to up to 30
No, it
people.
should be the same in every. We cannot do this. It's getting out of hand, and we're having too many guidelines, too many mechanisms going on there. We have to find it. We have to make it simple for the students. Give them one number, and they have to stick to this.
I just feel like this one-to-all policy would not actually solve the problem. It's just it aggravate the student
Of course,
in
you
the
don't
other
feel
way.
so, because the students, they want to party. They want to party hard. They want to party they want to party hard. You know it.
We want them
But
to be
you're-
responsible.
Right.
If whatever we impose, whatever the rule is it's just what we said. We didn't actually get to the goal to
But
educate
having
them to
15,
become a more
15 people, 15
responsible.
students in one dorm to party is more than enough you need. Why would you need more people? It's just getting out of hand, and it's just getting too dangerous. And what about the students who want to study, who who don't want to be disturbed by these people partying.
Yeah, so that I
Like 30
agree.
people in a room can make so much noise. I think you might know that.
I understand. So that's
And
why
it's
I
not
think,
just, and there are at least as many students here on campus who don't want to party, and we have to think about these students as well. It's not like every student wants to party. What about the students who don't want to party and feel disturbed?
how about
by
here?
it?
In the current policy, it doesn't say what day of the week you can have host the party. by
Why
the
are we
end
talking
of
about
what
days
day.
right now? We should talk about a guideline right now.
Right, exactly. But
Why
why don't we
would-
just like modify the guidelines saying like
That's what we're doing.
we cannot exactly. Why can't we say like we cannot have party end later by 1 a.m. for weekend
No, 1
nights?
a.m. is the latest. I want to reduce
Yeah.
this to 12:30.
I just don't understand.
I know you want to try to prevent this from happening, but
Exactly.
we'll have to do
but
something
if they have
about
a
it.
shorter time, would they drink faster?
This is not
And
true.
then it's easier to get drunk.
That is not true because we will reduce the amount of beer they can drink.
Exactly.
Right, and then they cannot get as drunk as they could be before. Even
So
if
the
they have half an
student
hour
will be
less.
less happy.
If you have half an hour less, you cannot get drunk faster because you drink faster. We drink more.
You drink faster, you get drunk
Yeah, but
faster.
it's just 30 minutes. We know that's ridiculous saying they get drunker faster.
I mean, they drink faster.
They have the same amount. They have like a little. They have no keg anymore. They're just allowed to have beer cans, and if you control the amount of beer they can have in the room, they cannot get drunker. Just because
You were
they have
saying
half an
like
hour less.
we are just modifying the policy, but who is the person who can enforce the policy? This is the question.
RAs like
I
security.
seriously think this
Securities.
policy
Who was
is
the
not
person
up to
before?
date. Who was the person before?
Yeah,
I don't know.
securities, RAs. We can
But
do
if
that.
they were there, why would the non-campus students?
So my
be
suggestion
there?
is that when people want to have a party, they have to sign. They have to
How about the student that
they have to sign up their party.
and they? How
What about
about
this?
we suggest all the cards that come to the school
Right.
after later than 11 o'clock?
Right.
They have
No,
to
no.
be checked in,
If
and
you
then
wanna
they will
have-
do the search for any alcohol in them.
You're right. We have to control. We have to control it somewhere, and I think we can do it by you have to sign up your party. If you want to have a private party, you have to go to security and say, "Hey, tonight I'm having a private party." Then the security goes, checks the amount of beer that's in the room, and then you can have your private party. I don't think why that should be a problem for you.
Say that again.
Okay. If you want to have a private party, you
Yes.
have to go to campus police or security and tell them, hey, tonight, that's my name, that's my dorm room, I'm going to have a private party. And then the security checks by and sees if everybody, if there are only 30 people or whatever in this room, if the amount of beer is right and stuff like this. So you cannot have a party without signing up a party.
Yeah, that's
We
how
can
I
agree on
think
this?
we already have that mechanism. I assume the current policy already have the right mechanism, like for registering a private party.
Oh yeah, register the party. Right.
Mhm.
So we can say that every half an hour, RE has to stop by and check if everything's okay.
Yep, that's
We
the
can do this.
policy.
But in order to because if there are 30 people in a room, it's so hard for an RA to count.
Yeah.
First of all, to count, to have an overview of the whole situation. And let's just face it, it's getting out of hand if there are 30 people in the room. Because how can you check 30 people? They could have vodka, they could have flares, flasks in their pockets or whatever. They could just smuggle it in.
Yeah, that's what I think is like, right now we focus too much on the party itself, but I feel like we should also consider like how to constrain every other factor, like
okay, we
alcohol
can go on
factor.
for now, but we will have to come back to this because this
Yeah.
is the most
I
important
mean, there was
factor.
too much factor,
Yeah.
like the party attendees factor, like the
Okay.
student,
Okay.
and also the alcohol factors.
I
There's
think
so
one-
many
okay.
factors. I feel like if other factors is controlled, like the
Alright.
party would be more safer of itself.
Sure.
Yeah.
I just need. Do you have a pen for me? Can I try this?
Yeah.
Okay, so we have the signing in policy.
And actually, I have a feeling we have question here. Is a where's the campus police when the 3 non-students taking the beers cases from their car to walk to the party?
Does it say so?
It does. Huh?
The campus police cannot be everywhere.
Exactly. And why is there non-students allowed to drive onto a party without having their car searched for alcohol? So this is something
But
that
why
we
are you
can
asking
work
this now?
on.
Yeah, we just decided that
Yeah.
we dealt with this. We said the car will be researched. We said they will have to be signed in. We already dealt with this problem. It's done. You got it.
Yeah. So
The
I
cars
think
will-
like we should set up a policy for visitors.
That's what non-students are. Non-students are visitors.
Yeah, exactly. It's a late night visitor.
Yeah, every student can bring one visitor or one
No,
non-student.
no, not specifically for a party, but for the entire campus. If there is a late night visitor.
Okay, let's say
How much
after
is it?
11 o'clock.
Let's say after 11 o'clock, all the cars that come into the campus have to be registered and searched for alcohol.
After 11 o'clock.
Yeah,
Okay.
all the cars have to be searched.
Yep.
But like that is only for the search part.
Fine.
But generally, all the visitors' cars have to be registered with the
Okay.
campus.
Fine. Can do this.
Yep. So this in one way we can control the non-student
Right.
factors
No, I get it.
for
But
crashing a party.
but you gotta give me something here too. So okay.
I don't.
One
I
thing
don't
we can
have anything here actually. Like
one thing we can probably you can agree to is as punishments for students who disobey the rules, it's like triple the damages they have to pay if they damage something on the, if they damage campus property or whatever
what?
for destruction of campus property,
Uh-huh.
because that's what you want too. Because you don't want students to get to vandalize, do you? You don't.
I mean, I don't want it.
Yeah.
And I
I-
just thinking it like logically. What if a student say, "I can pay for it, just crash it"?
But okay, of
Like,
course
we want to
can-
be like more disciplined.
I know, but we
other
can
than
look at this with
fining them.
everything, but that's not an excuse for not doing it at all.
I know, I understand, but I just try a better way to do it. Like maybe fining is one way.
Yeah, that's what
What
I'm
about the other way? Maybe we
Which
if
way?